Most of the countries you see in the world will fall into one of these: island, flatlands, mountainous, and landlocked. Of course, this is a very simplified way of looking at things, but these geographical locations of places have been a major influence in all of these countries, building them up to what they are now. The geography upon which a country is made up of is vital to the development of their culture, people, and the whole country in general. For example, island countries like the UK and Japan have a lot of benefits, such as the N-word. That's right, the benefits of island countries is that they have a strong navy naturally. The British Navy was the strongest in the world from the 1750s up to the Second World War. They had an extremely strong navy and shit food, which is what led them to colonizing nearly half the world and becoming the biggest empire to ever exist. Also, a huge benefit is that island countries are and were the safest countries and civilizations in the world, because not many people would go out of their way to get on boats and invade your fucking island if you really didn't piss them off, especially because island countries have a naturally strong navy. Their enemies know they're gonna get blasted by the colonizer 9000 ships of the UK and Japan, and not many decided to invade. And also, because of the naturally strong navy, it's easier to take down someone's naval invasion because they're not as experienced with naval battles, because most European history has always just been grabbing a sword and walking on flat surfaces until you reach the enemy, and then you win some, you lose some. Now you're stepping on a boat for the first time in your fucking medieval life and going up against Africa Destroyer 9000s of the British Navy. And island countries have a huge advantage in this because no enemy ever gets to step on their land because they just stop them at sea. You can see enemy ships from miles away, you don't have fucking mountains or forests covering their locations, and you can alert people back at home easily that somebody's trying to invade. So then the Navy can deploy their Spy Stealer 40,000 battleships and stop the invasion at sea before any land wars ever happen. Another reason why island countries have a naturally strong navy is that they would need it or they would die. Not because of the invasions, but because of food and imports. If you don't have resources such as iron in your country and you need to import it, because what the fuck are you gonna do without iron? You can't do it with land, so you need to go on a ship. Make a trade deal with another country and come back with the ship with iron on deck. And if your ship is shit, you might not make it out the ocean. If your ship does not have good defense and combat capability, your cargo would just get stolen by pirates, and the other countries did not offer a piracy warranty insurance back in those days. So the people needed to develop a strong ability to sail the waters, or otherwise they would just die or live like shit. Neither of them are good options. Even to this day, if you look up the strongest navies in the world, it's literally all island countries, and USA and China. Landlocked countries on the other hand are the complete opposite of this. Being landlocked is probably the worst fucking place to be in. I'm sorry all my Hungarians, you all migrated from the Urals to find a better place to live, and yet still couldn't find a place that could connect you to the rest of the world by sea. Sea transport is so important because to this day, shipping is the cheapest and easiest way to transport everything. Over 80% of the world's trade is carried out by sea, and landlocked countries get fucked in this because they are essentially disconnected from the rest of the world's trade, and they rely on their neighbors for goods and trade. This is a major reason why the Greeks cope so much about Constantinople/Istanbul, because Istanbul is probably the best placed city in the world, being a major transport hub for essentially all of Europe. It connects both continents together, and if you have access to this, you tax the ships if they want to pass through your territory, which is why Istanbul alone makes up 40% of the Turkish economy, and why the UK wanted this little rock as a territory. Landlocked countries have literally zero fleet because they don't have any fucking waters to sail in, so historically they've always relied on their neighbors. Landlocked countries rely on their neighboring countries that have access to the sea for trade. They need to use their neighbors' ports, roads, railways, and other infrastructure to transport their goods to and from the global markets. You want to get maple syrup from Canada but you're in Hungary? Well, too fucking bad, femboy. If all of your neighbors hate you and they just don't want to trade with you, they can just tell you, no, fuck you, Orban, I'm not landing your shit in my port. And now we have planes, so at least that could be solved now, but for the past thousands of years, nuh-uh. Also, air transport is very expensive, so that's not a good deal either. Me, as a Georgian, know how shit neighboring countries can get. Thankfully, God blessed us enough to where we have access to the sea and we can get our own shit with ports, so we don't have to rely on our neighbors and whatever they're doing up north over there. Landlocked countries, however, have to depend on their neighbors for their trade and their cooperation, so they essentially have to suck the big Romanian balls to be like, please let me use your ports, please. And because they don't have a navy, landlocked countries got really good at the classic picking picking up a sword and invading your neighbors, so they don't have to put any energy into building ships and can just focus on the best strategy to be racist towards their neighbors that look exactly like them. And this cope of not having access to 80% of the world's trade has led to many landlocked countries expanding and conquering everything in their way just so they have a port they can use. For example, this was Hungary in 1190 and they owned parts of Croatia. If you're good at fighting, you get a port. So it's like get rich or die without having access to shipments. Being landlocked does have another benefit though, which is not sinking. But I want it now! If the sea levels keep rising, everyone is fucked, but especially island countries. Us landy chads are more safe to this than them. Also, it's good because countries without sea don't really get any tsunamis or hurricanes or any other disasters that's caused by the sea. I lied about being a land chad though. Georgia does have access to the Black Sea because we have this west side city, and every time the news say there is a light flood in Batumi, the whole fucking city gets taken away and escorted into the Black Sea. When I hear there will be a light flood in Batumi, I imagine 2012, the movie. Also, if you want to support me and be creative around your friends, you can get one of my shirts. They're Georgian themed, so they're pretty original. They're all 100% cotton and are very good price. And yeah, they're high quality, they're drip, they're original. What more could you want? Oh yeah, fast shipping too. You can go to my website kartli.shop to get these shirts. And then within land countries there are mountainous countries, which really there are only 2 or 3 in Europe. You see, mountains are very good because people are too lazy to climb them. You really have to piss someone off for them to march thousands of people across mountains just to beat your ass, which is why in World War II, Switzerland did not get invaded even though they were surrounded by the Axis powers on all sides. Also, they sucked Germany's dick, but nobody really wants to talk about that and wants to keep going on about how beautiful Switzerland is. Yeah, it is very beautiful, but sucking the dick of big German bulls and trading with them and hoarding all their looted gold will only get you the reputation that you deserve. But the beauty and their watches are enough to make people forget about all this. So whatever, I'm just gonna pass right through that. Historically, mountainous countries have always been hard to take and conquer because even people inside them are divided. Georgia is the most mountainous country in Europe with the tallest mountains in Europe. It is also an ethnically diverse country. You know why? Because the mountains split communities into different parts and they were divided, and nobody really wanted to cross this fucking big Caucasian mountain to talk with the other tribe over there, especially in winter. You know how cold it gets here? This is not the Arctic, but it gets pretty fucking cold here as well. And you're telling me you're gonna go across a mountain that is 5 kilometers tall just to pipe out the girl from the other tribe? I don't think you will. Mountainous countries are extremely good for guerrilla warfare because you see, the white people are not used to going up an incline to go to spar. The Seljuks are not used to having to march their whole army across mountains and then get tired and then get their ass fucked, which is how these crazy ass battles have happened where people were extremely outnumbered and out-equipped but they still won the battle. Guerrilla warfare is amazing. Let me ask you this. Who wins? The most advanced military on earth by far, or a couple of rice farmers hiding in the bushes with AKs? It's the rice farmers. 1-1-2-1. When arguing with a Turkish nationalist online, you can easily say these 4 numbers and they will instantly give you the ice cream they've been holding from you for the past 5 minutes. Who wins? 250,000 Turks or 40,000 Georgians and some Armenians? You already know. Result: Georgian victory. That's 1 person against 5. Historic sources say they just started swinging their shemit and 5 Seljuks were left without a head. Same with Switzerland. The Axis powers had a plan to invade Switzerland with around 300 to 500,000 men, but they decided to cancel because of the reasons I mentioned in this video. So what they did was, oh wow, each one of our neighbors are absolutely tripping. They're probably gonna try and invade us. So what they did is just put bombs anywhere the enemy could invade from. This included mountains too. So when they blew up a part of the mountain would crumble down and the enemy wouldn't be able to do anything. It's hard enough passing an army through mountains as is. Try going through when mountains are falling down on you and your shit is just exploding out of nowhere. Not only that, but inside of these Swiss mountains are also more than 300,000 bunkers built into these Alps. You know how dedicated you gotta be to staying neutral / defending yourself to build 300,000 fucking bunkers in the mountains. And then there are the best countries. The United States has the best geography in the world by far. I'm trying to get my tourist visa, and it's not even close. Their geography is one of the main reasons they've become so powerful. Their geography enables them to do essentially anything they want. They're not gonna get invaded by their neighbors, and as for anyone else, the only way to get access to the USA is through boat or airspace, both of them which are extremely well controlled. They are so far away from everything that it literally disables any other country from invading them. The best they can hope for is to blow up a few ships and then get nuked twice. The countries in Europe which are most prone to tripping out is by far Russia and Germany. And all I'm gonna say is the German Navy is not traveling this far without getting detected and splitting their asshole into 5. And as for Russia, by far the trippiest country in the world, not a lot of people know this, but Russians can actually just walk over to the United States because this little patch of sea freezes in the winter, so it's possible to just walk there. However, upon a Russian soldier stepping foot on American soil, seeing all these parking spots and lifted F-150s with American flags on them, they will instantly think it's cool and want to immigrate. America will gain 145 million more people, and then the higher-ups in Russia will start mysteriously falling out of windows. Cultural victory. The USA is also located between the two most prosperous continents of Europe and Asia, making trade much easier and the cheapest form of trade as well, shipping. Not only this, but it's also the size of a whole continent. So when your country is the size of a continent, you get the resources of a continent, which is why the USA has a shit ton of everything. Oil, coal, gas, metals, minerals, timber, agricultural products, dick, OnlyFans models. And speaking of agriculture, most countries in the world do not produce enough food to feed themselves and don't have enough resources to just be chill if other countries wanted to embargo them and not trade with them. Even prosperous European countries such as Norway, Belgium and the Netherlands only produce around 50% of their caloric needs within their own country. The United States produces 124% of their caloric needs, and they need a lot of calories. Even with 40% of their population being obese and 70% being overweight, they still make enough food to feed themselves and not depend on anyone else. Also being economically self-sufficient, with imports only making up around 13% of their GDP and being the second largest exporter of goods in the world, number one being China, of course. Geographically, the USA cannot be more blessed, which is a major part of what led to the US becoming a superpower. The Europeans were monkeying out and the USA was safe from all that because of how far they were from the monkey business Europoids like to get themselves into, except of course the whole Pearl Harbor and then making nukes incident. If you have all the food, minerals, oil and resources you need, and you have beautiful places, because if there is a whole continent there has to be some beautiful nature in there no matter what, and you're also located between the two most prosperous continents on the planet with easy shipping to both, it is nearly impossible to not become a superpower, especially with Europeans monkeying out and their whole cities and economies reducing themselves into 3 stones because one dude did not get accepted into art school. Anyways, please approve my tourist visa.
I am from Bosnia, take me to America. I really want to see Statue of Liberty. I can no longer wait, take me to United States. Take me to I will assimilate.
Like and subscribe and goodbye.